Welcome to Krystal Rowe Impact, a space dedicated to empowering you to be the change that your bloodline has been waiting for. Join me and together, let's inspire change. Kia ora whanau and welcome back to the Krystal Rowe Impact Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about scaling with soul. But before that, I want to take you on a little journey of how I actually got into business. So I had a little idea of selling some food at a market. And so I did. And when I had to relocate to Brisbane, I started thinking maybe I could have a fixed premise. Maybe if I dream hard enough and talk about it a little bit longer, that I could potentially have my very own cafe. And so it was. I talked to my mum about borrowing a little bit of money, and I actually found a location that was shutting down. At that time, I didn't understand very much about business. I didn't know or even want to know the importance of a bookkeeper or an accountant or paying taxes. But what I did was jumped blindfolded and I took the chance on myself. I've always had a dream of owning multiple cafes, and I actually narrowed that down to having a cafe for each of my 7 children at the time. And so that vision looked like one for each child. And if they wanted to work and run the business, they could, but if they didn't have to. When I first started the Cuzzy's Cafe back in 2018, I really didn't know what I was doing. I actually opened the doors with $700. And by the time I paid for my first coffee order, I was under $400. Crazy, I know. But you know what? I took a chance on myself and it's paid off. So I had a vision of creating multiple cafes. And I always thought that the second one would still be close to home and that I would be able to juggle both because I juggled such a crazy full-on life anyway. So why not throw another cafe in, right? By the time I had gone through all my healing and my burnouts and my breakdowns, I came across a friend who was like, what would it look like to have another cafe? And I'm like, wow, do you want another cafe? Do you want a cafe? And I'm like, let's do it. So we did it. And basically from there, I learned a lot about scaling. I learned that you have to put boundaries in place. I learned that you have to have time management, which I wasn't that great at, but I learned along the way to prioritize what needed to be done to be able to actually juggle 2 shops. I'm a real strong believer in being prepared for opportunity, because you never know when the opportunity is going to knock on the door. And I think that when you dream big and you set goals that are way above what you think could happen, you just never know. Somebody might be there ready to walk that walk with you, or to explore that idea with you, or to have a golden nugget that might just go, yes, I can do it. And when we actually start to believe that we can be bigger than what we are right now, that's where the magic really happens. And so when we actually dream big, we prepare ourselves, and then when that opportunity arises, we're so ready for it. And it actually aligns. And so for myself, I had jumped into that train of scaling. I jumped on board 100%. I was like, yes. I remember getting the keys to the Gold Coast shop, and I walked in and I just felt so amazing. I felt so alive. I felt so assured. Like I was so sure of myself. I was like, yes. Going from rock bottom to a massive opportunity was life-changing, and it just empowered me so much. And the key to that feeling was that I was prepared. I was prepared pre-breakdown, pre-burnout. I was always dreaming of the bigger picture. It was an amazing journey to start the second cafe. And so we went on this journey, and a few things happened along the way, like the mandates took place and staffing And we had to grow quite rapidly, which was a part that we weren't quite prepared for. And so one advice that I could give and share is that if you are going to scale, you need to really be prepared for the bigger picture. When we scaled the first time into our second location, I was so excited and I was so over the moon that I felt completely empowered. And then reality sort of kicked in, and I kind of misjudged how much we had taken on. We were driving for over an hour and a half to the second location, doing twice as much work. And even though it was invigorating and empowering in the beginning, it started to take its toll real quick. So I started to experience things like panic attacks and anxiety. So I would spend an hour to an hour and a half driving to the second location. And by the time I got there, I was an absolute wreck. I would literally break down in the car. And by the time I got inside, I couldn't open on time because I was so anxious. And that was just something that I didn't see coming. I just thought that it was just going to be absolutely amazing. And I didn't put in the boundaries that I should have from the beginning. But I guess sometimes we just learn along the way. And that's the beauty of life, is that we've got to take a chance on ourselves. We've got to take a chance on our dreams. And the moment that we do that and we say yes, we do learn so much along the way. And if we accept the lessons as lessons and not as failures, then we can become so much more than what we currently are. At a certain point, we realized that the big dream and all of that just wasn't right for us at this particular time. And because the pressure that we were starting to experience was actually taking a toll on our home life and on our amount of time that we got to spend with our children, we made the choice to prioritize what was most important, and that's always going to be family. So we actually acknowledged and accepted that we took too much on and that scaling wasn't for us right now in that particular location. And so what we did is we retracked and we worked out what was going to be best for us and put into place some new steps that was still aligned with the growth of our business and the growth of our brand, but we actually formed it in a way that was going to be best for us. So once we closed the Gold Coast Cafe, it wasn't like a hard decision for me. It gave me peace, and I actually acknowledged it for what it was. I actually took a moment and I was like, you know what? This is what's best for me and mine. And that was good enough for me. I wasn't attached to what people will think or what we're going to look like, or is this a failure? It was none of that. It just was complete peace. It was like, yes, I made the right choice. And that goes back to one of my favorite quotes: make one right choice and the rest will follow. And from that, it's just been a beautiful time for our family. We have an extra day off. We have more time with our children. We have more interaction with our children. We have more capacity in our home life. And that's what it's all about. We're in business to have that freedom. I realized that I was already prepared for the exit of this location. It wasn't a bad thing. It was actually a growth move. It was a boss move. And I was able to say, yes, this isn't working. This isn't for us right now. And we were able to exit in a healthy way. That comes down to knowledge is power as well. So when we know what we're getting ourselves in for, we actually have power over the situation. So we were able to determine how this was going to play out. And that's a beautiful thing when you're in business with your heart and soul. There's only the right way forward. So it's really important for me to prioritize the growth of our brand and the growth of our family. And it's always family first. So even though for us it didn't work this time, we were able to walk away with our heads held high, knowing that we chose the right thing that was best for us. And if there's one thing that you can take away from this, is to just give it a go. and never give up. There's no such thing as failure. It's only lessons. It's all lessons, and we all grow from those lessons. So make sure you keep your head up and give it a go. Thank you for listening today, whānau. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and Spotify, and follow us on all our social platforms. And we'll see you on the next episode.